Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in to the newest episode of Vinyl and Vision. This is episode 6. Tonight is going to be a great show. Got a great album to feature. We have the Velvet Underground's self-titled third record, which is definitely one of my favorites, definitely up there as far as the Velvet Underground's catalog is concerned. And I have great guests. The half of the band, the Tall Teenagers, is here as well, Damien Puerini and Chelsea Paulhus. Other members were not able to make it for, obviously reasons beyond our control. Shannon Puerini and Sean Chevalier, I'm sorry if I'm saying that wrong, but it's a French last name. I have trouble with that, sorry. But they're the other halves. They're doing some shows. They're doing a show on the 12th of January in Providence. I'm going to link everything for them, so if you can find that in the bio, find their links to the show and their website and things like that. Trying something new for the new year, doing a little bit of a different video format, eliminating the actual monitor speakers, playing the record so I don't have to edit the video. So actually you're going to get the entirety of our interview through the video, minus of course the glitch that I had that my video stopped running because I think the WAV file became too large and it just shut down. So there's kind of an abrupt stop to the end of the video. If you reach the end there, you'll see what I mean. But the audio stream is there and it's in its entirety. So I encourage you to go there, find it on YouTube, find it on iTunes, Stitcher, and SoundCloud for now. Another update for this year will be I'll try to include the other formats to the Google Play and iHeartRadio and all the other areas where you might be able to find some podcasts. So big things happening this year. Great way to kick it off is to have this episode with this album and these guests. I hope you enjoy it. I encourage you to subscribe, please. Follow the Tall Teenagers on all their social medias and enjoy the show. Thanks.
I wasn't a servant of Paul.
No.
Myself, no.
Nor your husband.
No.
So let me do the introductions. This is the Vinyl and Vision. Thank you for tuning in. Tonight's guests are Damien Puerini and Chelsea Paulhus of the band Tall Teenagers. We're missing your other halves, Shannon, your wife.
Shannon's my wife.
And she's your sister.
Yes.
That's awesome. How do you guys feel about being in a band amongst family like that?
It's
How
nice.
does that work for you?
It's pretty awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm kind of envious of it. I admire that. Like,
Well, you were in a band with family.
yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
with my brothers.
Yeah.
But that didn't go as smoothly as it seems to be going for you guys. So that's kind of why I ask. I mean, not that I expect any dirt to be thrown or anything like that, but
No,
I know that it can be challenging,
Well, it's hard because me and Shannon have a kid, and it's getting out of the house at the same time. and
Yeah.
Practicing, so we'd have to get babysitters a lot. And
Right.
It's but other than that,
Yeah.
we're all pretty close, so it's a lot of fun.
Right. Yeah, throwing the kids in the mix makes it more difficult. But that's another thing that I kind of noticed about you guys that I admire is that like you guys, even last night, you were out at a show.
yeah, I'm pushing it.
Yeah, no, that's good because you're music lovers, and so you kind of really can't kind of get that out of you. You kind of need to go and do that, and I admire that your enthusiasm to continue to remain a part of the scene around here and participate.
Yeah, it's I kind of look at it as I can't complain that no good things are coming around if I'm not going to see them when
Right.
they do happen. So I kind of always try to prioritize
Yeah.
going
Yeah, I
to see
took like
bands. And
a long time off of going out to shows and playing when I had younger kids, and now they're kind of older. They're 10 and 11, so like they don't really need me as much anymore, so I'm
Mhm.
able to be in a band and go out to shows and stuff.
Yeah. We were saying how your children are now 10 and 12?
10 and 11.
And 11.
Yeah. But so they don't really want to hang out with me. They want to play video games and
Yeah.
so they don't really mind that I leave and go to shows.
They're almost at that point where they're self-sustaining.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's more like mom stop singing around the house, like.
Yeah.
Yeah.
My kids put that hammer down on me fairly early.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's basically why I haven't been playing anymore, because like...
Oh, I'm like, no, I'm gonna sing around the house.
Yeah, they just
and
hurt
in the
my
car.
feelings.
It's gonna be really embarrassing.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I guess I just took it too personally for some odd reason. For some odd reason, the 4-year-old could just, ruin me.
Yeah.
And,
You're like,
Max was
okay.
around 4. He heard me playing something. He goes, "What is that?" I'm like, "It's a song I'm working on." He's like, "Oh, that's terrible. You should play your old songs." That was
yeah.
horrible.
Well, at least he said play your old ones, because he gave you some kind of like,
Yeah, I don't know.
acknowledgement
It's
that.
probably accidental.
Yeah.
He's
Well,
trying to hurt me.
yeah.
Just kidding.
Yeah. No, I mean, well, it'll only get worse, really, right?
I'm just kidding.
I think Cole, one time I was looking through like a Jim Carroll like poetry book, like trying to get inspiration for writing lyrics and stuff. And then like later on he's like, "Hey, what about that song you copied from that book?" Like, I didn't copy it from the book.
Yeah, I'm just plagiarizing.
I just
It's
love
actually
all
not-
the
it's not
lyrics.
bad. One day you'll learn. You'll be out of
This is
the
how
well
Out of
can
ideas,
dry,
yeah.
and you're just gonna need to steal it from someone.
Uh-huh.
Do you think they have any musical tendencies, your kids, right now?
I don't know.
Not yet. They
No,
haven't really
well,
shown
my
any
older one
signs.
is like a really good artist, but he has no interest in music. And then the younger one will like walk around, kind of like writing songs in his head, or if I'm like playing in my studio, like I'll hear him kind of like sing the same like lines, but he won't really admit that he wants to like music because that's what I do, so it's not really that cool.
Yeah, I guess that's the weird dynamic that we have with our kids now is that if we're artists and we participate in our work and we're like active in that, they see it and they have to do the counteraction, right? So they have to be contrary to whatever our interests are.
Yeah.
So we're almost kind of doomed to have these kids that are just going to be like these weird like jock kids that are just want to play sports.
All my kid wants to do is play sports and buy sports-related clothing.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
I'm pretty sure it's a...
Once I went over their house from the gym, I think I was picking up a microphone or something, and he looks at me and he's like, "Nike, Reebok," like all the outfit that I was wearing. He's like, "What kind of shoes you got on?" "All right, Nike." He's like, "What about your socks?" I'm like, "They're just they're just champion." He goes, "Yes."
So
He's sizing you up.
Yeah.
That's
I'm like,
amazing.
"I passed."
But sometimes he says he wants to play guitar, but obviously I'm not gonna,
Right.
when he's ready, there's quite a few around the house.
Yeah, I would imagine. Yeah,
He knows where to find them, so.
Right. Yeah, I have a little bit of setup in the house. Like I haven't been playing much, but I have like the keys and my bass set up. So the kids are kind of like asking about it now. They're like, "Can I play the organ?" I'm like, "Yeah, of course. Go ahead. Just turn it on." I was like, "Here, this is how you turn it on. Just flip that switch, flip this switch. Okay."
Nice.
And go to it. He likes the sounds because the organ has a D-beam thing. It's a Roland, and so you can just control the sound, kind of almost like a theremin.
Oh, cool.
That's
So you just kind of move your hand and it controls the frequencies and stuff, like it has a ring modulation and stuff like that.
Oh,
So he
cool.
just kind of gets all wiggy with it.
Nice.
He's just crazy about making sounds.
That's cool.
So that's a good first
How
step,
old is
I
he
guess.
now?
He's 8.
8.
Yeah, and my oldest is 10.
Okay.
Yeah, and they don't really care for music though.
Yeah.
Like just even listening to it, I'm just like, put something on.
Me too. Well, we did that thing in my car where like I'll have my phone and I put it on Spotify and I pass it around, and everyone can add a song to queue, and I'm like, whatever you want to play is fine. Like I'm not gonna judge.
I
Like
don't even know what to look for though.
no, like one of them's like super into like Justin Bieber and like or stuff like that, and I'm like, I don't care. Like it's fine, like you'll
Right.
find your way with music. But the other one's like, no, watch like YouTube, like video game music.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or K-pop is the new.
That's news
K-pop.
to me the other
Yeah,
day too.
that's a new thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
They'll probably kill me for like talking about this.
My kids
but-
probably know what it is. We took them to a school dance recently for, I think it was for Halloween, and they actually like hooked it up with like this DJ and light show. It was like an amazing party.
That's awesome.
I know, I was just like, wait, this is public school. What is this all about? But they had a blast and it was amazing. And so the DJ was playing all this music, and I think like they played it like Imagine Dragons.
Yeah.
And I don't know who that is, but I kind of recognized the song a little bit. But all of the kids were losing their shit.
That's cool.
It was like, huh?
Excited
I
about
didn't even know my kids knew this song.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I
What
don't
was
know.
that band they were super into?
21 Pilots.
21 Pilots.
Oh, that might have been it too, actually.
We
Might have
took
been-
them to a 21 Pilots concert in Albany, New York. We took like a trip out there so they could go see, because it was sold out in Providence.
Oh.
And it was like still face value, and I'm like, let's just make a night of it and go to the show. And we took them to their first concert, and they were psyched. Like, it was really cool.
Hmm.
But I don't know
Excuse me.
if I
Speaking
can
of
take them to
first-
K-pop concerts.
That's really cool of you to take your kids to a show, even if it's not a band that you necessarily care for. But so let me ask you that. What was your first shows?
Mine was Public Image Limited.
Really?
At,
Damn.
I think it was at the PPAC. My mom took me, and I was 14.
Wow. That's pretty good.
Yeah,
Can
she
you
was
top
she was
that
a
one?
cool mom.
Yeah.
No,
Say.
not really. Well, my sister took me to see Kool and the Gang at the Warwick Musical Theater,
Wow.
and we were in the front row, and I apparently fell asleep. You know, they had like the rotating stage there, revolving stage.
Uh-huh.
I guess every time the singer came around, he would like kind of like laugh at me. And I think the first one I really wanted to go to was Van Halen. Probably my sister took me to that as well. I was probably like 11,
Oh, cool.
and that was pretty awesome.
Wait, so how old were you for the Kool and the Gang show?
It was like 6 or 7.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, I actually saw Donovan at a free concert in the Roger Williams Park.
Oh.
Yeah. I can't
Yeah.
top Donovan. And
Right?
Yeah.
I think we were super young though. I didn't really care who Donovan was. My mom liked him, and I think I was like 9.
Yeah, you can't.
It might have been a little
appreciate
bit of
that.
a
Yeah.
past his prime Donovan too.
Yeah.
Unless he was doing the children's record at that point. He was doing
I have no
I forget what it's
idea.
Yeah, he put out a double record. He put out a record, and then like the second half of it was like a children's record.
Oh.
Yeah, like
I didn't know that.
what's one of those weird, funny songs he's got? The Man in the Boat. What is it called? I can't remember the song title now, but he did a child's version of it, which is basically the same, except there was a little bit more vocals going on in it. It was kind of going off a little more.
I like Donovan. He's good.
Yeah, Donovan too. So now the record that we're going to feature tonight is the Velvet Underground self-titled record. It's their 3rd record. Are you familiar? You're familiar with the record, of course, right?
Mhm.
Okay. So what's your how did you get introduced to the Velvet Underground, or what was your first experience with this record?
So my brother had the Velvet Underground box set, and I had copies of it.
What age was this?
I might have been like 12, 13, 14, maybe a little older, maybe older, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere
around there.
Yeah, high school, I'd say.
You're a younger guy
um,
still.
But, so I didn't know, I didn't have the track listings or the names of it's pretty much chronological, but I didn't know what.
So you were going
which
through a
one.
whole
So
box?
yeah, there was 5 discs. And
Oh,
then,
okay.
each one was like the record, and then like one record, and then a bunch of outtakes and other stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
Demos, live stuff, and so I don't know exactly when I heard that one in particular, but I remember liking pretty much all of it. And
Yeah.
Even back when I first heard it, I liked it more as they went, you know, as time rolled along. I liked it got a little more like rockin',
Right.
more like straightforward, because I was younger, maybe not ready for the first 2.
Yeah, I mean, if
I
you
think
were
this is
you know,
probably
really
the first
excited for
really-
Van Halen at that time,
Yeah.
you know, that would be a really big switch. But
Yes.
obviously, you kind of got into it still, kind of listened to it more, and developed a feel for it. And
Yeah, and then in my 20s, I probably like really started to like Velvet Underground and
Yeah.
and solo stuff. But I definitely had heard it before, but didn't make a lasting impression on me like a lot of stuff that, you know, when I bought like Clash records and Stooges records and stuff. I might not have really liked them right away.
yeah,
You know, just hung on to them, kept revisiting because I thought I was missing something. You know, so it was probably
yeah.
along those lines too.
That's pretty advanced listeners' kind of mentality to like be like, well, I got to give that another shot. You know, I think like as a kid, maybe you wouldn't do that. Like,
Well,
as for me, I guess
I thought there was like a lot of investment in buying, like, say like for instance, if I bought a record that was $20 or something. I remember buying the first Stooges record. It was like $25 at Tom's Tracks, and I didn't love it right away, but I was like, I'd spent a lot of money on
Right.
that, and
Yeah.
at the time, and it's still an expensive record to me,
It
I think,
is.
but
Even today, that's still pretty pricey.
I
But
feel
it
like
was like,
records
it's an
never
investment.
changed how
Yeah.
much they are. Like the price of a record or a CD, it's like still the same that it was.
Yeah, I mean, maybe for our generation, but I know like, I've seen some like old, because I go through so many records now, I still find some with the occasional price tag still on it. And there's like a Beatles record for like $5.90 something,
Yeah.
which, when it came out in the 60s, that was a lot of money, but to
Yeah,
say
I think
like,
for our generation, it's like a different thing because like when we started listening to music, people paid for music. And then as you like, went on, people paid for music less, they never like changed the price on music,
yeah,
It's like to buy a CD would be the same price as when
yeah,
I was
yeah,
buying CDs in like the 90s.
right. Yeah, there's probably averages out to be about the same,
Yeah.
so, but I feel you on the investment thing, like,
Well, like if you can just listen to it for free and move on, if you don't like it, there's no reason to go back and listen to it. But if
Right.
you like, if it's in your house
right, and you bought
and
it.
you're not gonna throw it out,
Right.
you listen again.
Yeah, and the resale market probably wasn't very good back then either.
It wasn't really a thing I thought about.
Right.
Like,
You're
I
like,
mean,
Oh, I could sell this and get my money back for it. It's like,
when I changed interests, I would take my CDs to Ray Comics and sell those though. So that was
Right.
They used to give you like $3 each.
Yeah.
Remember that?
We had loops.
yeah, right. I
Did
think
you-
still give you store credits for used stuff.
Do they?
I don't know how much, and I wouldn't dare do it at this point. I'd just be like, I'd rather just sell this myself.
Oh, I know.
Yeah, I don't think
Video
they-
games are like that too. Like they'll give you like $3.
Yeah.
Thanks, I spent $60 on
Right.
that.
Exactly. So what was your first experience with Velvet Underground?
Back in like when I was in high school, we hung out with a lot of bands. I didn't really go to school that much. We just kind of hung out with a lot of bands and listened to records and stuff. And one of the bands was Freak Show. You remember Freak Show?
Oh, yeah.
And Jay Reddington was the singer, and he was really into a lot of more mellow stuff than what Freak Show is. Like we were listening to a lot of like Leonard Cohen back then and Velvet Underground, and so he was one of the people that kind of first turned me on to Velvet Underground.
Yeah. Oh, that's cool. So you got turned on by another local musician guy?
Yeah.
So this is it. This is my copy. So I did a show on their debut record, and I think at the time I didn't even really bother to do the research too much into the record. I was just like, I knew it was like, just like iconic, This is their third record. The Underground with Nico was their debut with the banana cover, which is by Andy Warhol.
Mm-hmm.
And it's a pretty sought after record. I mean, like, so what do you guys know about like vinyl right now, as far as like your own personal tastes, as far as like, like are you consider yourselves audiophiles, or like what's your opinion on vinyl at this point?
I have a lot. I don't know, the music I listen to is always being released on vinyl. Like, as a teenager, I was buying punk and hardcore and then hip hop and all the.
And you used to always buy it on vinyl?
I mean, I've had a record player my whole life. I remember, I remember buying 5150 by Van Halen on vinyl. Like, I don't ever remember not having a record collection.
Yeah.
And moving it with me and having and now I got a little overboard into the gear.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and yeah, my wife was, throwing the hammer down eventually because it was just speakers everywhere.
Oh, really?
I love buying gear and setting it up and switching it around, and it was just driving the family crazy.
Yeah.
But now I got something I'm pretty happy with.
Oh, good. So
yeah, I like it. I like making it sound as good as it can. And it's not always, I don't think they're always the best sounding format. There's a lot of things that sound a lot better on CD to me, and but depends on what. There's so many variables with the pressing you have, and
Right.
But I enjoy it. I like how it makes you sit down and listen and make time for it.
The ritual of it.
Yeah, and it's just it makes you pay attention a little more, and it's a little more engaging. And I think if you spend some time on the room you're listening in and set up some, like a decent system. It's very rewarding and relaxing, but
Right.
no, not everybody.
Not everyone feels
Not everybody
the same way.
prioritizes that, so it's.
Yeah.
But it's
Especially in today's age because you have
it's
the streaming
expensive and
service.
time consuming.
Right.
And it's time consuming. It's like, I don't know. I can understand why it's not terribly important to a lot of people, but it's just one of those things I like.
Yeah.
But
Well, I think, so it sounds like you are kind of truly an audiophile. Like you take a lot of pride in your system and the way it sounds and kind of like giving yourself the best experience you can with your music.
Yeah, but I don't know about audiophile. That's more, my ears are slammed. I've been playing in bands for
Right. For
25
decades.
years
Yeah.
and like just started wearing earplugs like 3 or 4 years ago. So I don't even know if what I'm hearing is even remotely pleasant to somebody with good ears. But
Oh,
I think
okay.
that's the point of it. It's like whatever.
Right.
I don't care. It's
But you still want it to
it's
sound,
what I like. Yeah,
right,
it's
you
what
still
it
want it to
sounds
sound good to you though, like
Yeah.
whatever it is, whatever you're getting out of it, exactly.
Yeah, but I'm a little nerdy about it. Like I'm on internet forums and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think that qualifies as audiophile.
Yeah, it's fun. I don't think I have like the money or the equipment to be, what
Yeah.
audiophile.
Yeah, but he goes to like,
There are various
like yard
degrees, I
sales and
think.
stuff, looking
Right.
for like tape
Find
decks
find awesome stuff.
yeah.
Oh, I bet. Yeah, because you can just like scour and just scavenge for these like cool, rare finds that are like, because some of the old technology is actually so really good.
Oh, it's awesome. Yeah.
And so as long as it's not beat to shit or like speakers aren't blown or anything, then yeah, you could potentially find something really great for very little money.
Yeah, absolutely. And it looks really cool too. I think.
Yeah. Some of that vintage stuff, yeah, it looks very cool, retro looking.
But it's a rabbit hole too, and it also like if your system gets too like advanced, it makes like the records you like not sound as good. It's like a little too revealing and too.
Oh.
The stuff I listen to, it wasn't made to be reproduced at that level. I don't know. It's like
Yeah.
look at these guys like with these crazy systems might have like this tiny record collection of like Steely Dan and Supertramp and things that sound really good.
Yeah.
But
Right.
it's not stuff I want to sit home and listen to. But
Yeah.
and then the guy at the Stereo Discount Center told me, he's like, be careful. He's like, when I first started buying gear from him, he's like, you're gonna listen to Steely Dan eventually. I was like, no way. And now I have Steely Dan records, and
Yeah.
it's just because they make the system sound real good. And I'm like, this is totally lame, but it's fun.
Yeah, well, you can give it a more of an appreciation just for that reason, just kind of like the sonic aspect of it, that you can put it on and you can hear all this instrumentation that maybe you didn't even hear before, like when you would hear it on the radio.
Yeah.
You're on the radio in the car or whatever, you're not even paying attention to it for the most part, and you got static coming in from like the signal, then you bring it home and put it on the turntable, put it on your system with your good speakers.
It's a totally different experience.
Yeah.
It's cool. And
Yeah.
I didn't really we're trying to like record our own music and mix it ourselves, and like I didn't even know what mixing meant until I got a good stereo setup
Right.
where I could hear things separated and see the players and like say like, oh, that guy's there and that guy's there, and it's like I didn't even know what the point of mixing was. So it's kind of like helped me in that regard, I guess.
Yeah.
Besides being a total time suck, maybe I learned something from it. So.
Yeah. So I'm sorry, unrelated question because you brought that up. Are you rehearsing in your house?
Yeah.
But just like in your living room?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we have a room with like a piano and.
We haven't, I mean, probably only twice.
Twice.
Yeah. Well, one time he had a party that my other band played at his party in his
okay.
living room. Yeah.
That's cool. Well, so I mean, I guess you don't have to worry about neighbors too much in that, as far as that's concerned.
They
like,
live pretty far from their neighbors.
Yeah,
That's good.
it's kind of remote.
That's great.
Um,
You don't have to worry about the noise disturbance thing.
yeah, it's not too bad outside.
We used to practice in my basement, and like it was like we're still like not super close to our neighbors, but you could definitely hear
Yeah.
us from their house. So
As long as you're in
that
the
became an
basement
issue.
too.
Yeah, I mean it wasn't unpleasant. Like it wasn't super loud. It was just like people walking by could hear it, and they kind of like
Right.
look.
That always like it attracts my attention. Like my ears go up when I
Yeah.
you hear someone drumming, and you're like, where's that?
Yeah.
Where's it coming from?
Uh-huh.
There was a guy in my neighborhood playing the drums, and I never knew who it was.
Yeah.
And I would always, like, riding my bike around, I would hear this drums coming out of this warehouse. I was like, oh, I wonder who that is. And, I wanted to be in a band with him and all that. And I was
Right.
like,
It's like I just gotta go knock on his door one day, and I'm gonna say, like, hey man, you should come down and like rehearse with me.
yeah,
Right?
never happened.
No.
Chickened out,
Hey, I don't blame you. That'd be creepy as hell.
Yeah.
Someone's on your door, like, okay, yeah, you're gonna be drumming, all right.
It could have been like a grown up, and I was like 8. No, I'm like, hey, could I be in your band? But,
So the band, you guys are rehearsing. You have stuff coming up. You're recording.
Yeah.
well,
Well, we're on a long break. I mean, since September. I guess it's not that long, but it was
Everyone's
for
been
us,
busy,
because they wanted to, be parents for a little bit and not worry about disappearing for practices and shows and be more present for their kids. So we
yeah,
took.
we were moving and changed
um,
schools, and it's just.
Me and Damien are both in other bands, so we kind of just went with that other thing for a
Yeah.
while. Yeah.
So you guys get keep really busy as far as
Yeah.
music is concerned.
Yeah.
So
It's-
what's your project? I don't know if I'm familiar with it.
I'm in a band called Songbirds, which is it's me. Do you remember a band called Party Pigs by any
Yeah.
chance? It's the drummer and the
Matt?
Matt, and the
Okay.
keyboard player who ended up being in the band later.
Yeah, he joined.
Zach.
Yeah.
He was in a really cool band out of Boston called the Kings of Nothing. He used to travel with an upright piano, which I thought was pretty crazy.
Wow.
Yeah.
That sounds very familiar.
But he's a really, really solid, talented player.
Cool.
And then Matt was in another band called Black Clouds with this guy Glenn.
Oh, right.
And Glenn's also playing guitar in the band.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's cool. Chelsea recorded us a couple of weeks ago.
Oh, yeah.
We're
This is fresh stuff.
Yeah, we played like 2 shows.
I packed up all my gear in a suitcase and brought it to their practice space.
You
and
didn't just throw it in the IKEA bag?
I did. I had my monitor in there because I didn't even have a laptop. I had an actual monitor and
Yeah.
a little Mac Mini, and
Mhm.
just brought this whole office set up to their practice and recorded them.
Oh, that's
So,
cool.
Came out really good.
Yeah, it's cool.
Damien mixed it.
It sounds like us, so it's cool.
Yeah.
It's loud.
Kind of just live to, I don't want to say tape, but just kind of like a live recording for the most part.
No.
No, we
It
A lot of
was,
overdubs?
it was,
Well,
it was
yeah.
multi-part.
Yeah, because we, which is against, none of us would naturally want to do that, but that was it worked, it was fine. I think
Mhm.
everybody
It was
played really
because
well.
we were
Just
kinda
the isolation issues. and
Yeah,
stuff.
we're in a practice space.
Right.
So it would be, I think it was drums, guitar one night, and then organ was on its own, and
the
more
guitar.
guitar, and then vocals were separate.
Hmm.
But
Super awkward vocals.
It's always weird when you're isolated, right?
I know, and not even in a sound booth
Yeah,
or
it was
anything. It's
Everyone's
just
watching you,
Yeah.
standing in the room with everyone. Hey, listen to this now.
It's kind of loud and screamy and I don't know, just standing.
And we only had 2 pairs of headphones, so
sitting in the
only
middle of the room
2
screaming.
people could hear what was actually going on, and everyone else just saw someone screaming
Yeah,
in
it's
the
just
middle
somebody
of the
sitting.
room.
We were both sitting, just yelling. It's not my favorite, but
Yeah, well, you guys did you
What you
right?
gotta do.
Yeah, that sucks. Well, I'm looking forward to hearing it then. I mean, that's cool that I didn't realize that you were working on something right now. And then Cherry Pit
Yep,
is your project?
yeah.
You guys have been at it for a little while now.
For a little over, maybe a year and a half. I think it was August of the previous year that we got together. We were kind of recording a song at a time, more just to put out on Bandcamp. So I think we have 4 now, and we have one that I recorded, but Damien's mixing. We're kind of trying out that thing where, I'm all right, I'll pass. Kind of I did you a favor, I went and recorded your band, now do me a favor and
Yeah.
mix this. We're and we're hoping to maybe sometime work out recording other bands and getting this sort of a partnership thing going.
Yeah.
So
You guys are interested in doing producing?
yeah.
That's great. So I didn't realize how tight knit you guys are.
Oh yeah.
Because so I was reading an article, an older article based on you guys earlier, and it said something along the lines that you guys, it was your idea to start this band, but you had another idea initially. You wanted to start record kids music.
We wanted to just make money and not work. Yeah, we thought like, the best way
It
was
has
to
not
like,
worked out
yeah,
for us.
so like we thought the best way to make that happen was like children's music. It's like it's so dumb and
You're right.
you know.
But there's a
like,
market for it.
and there's
I
a
mean,
market, and like you don't have to, you know, you can look like me maybe and be a children's that's not and but we didn't really do that at all.
No.
Right.
But,
Well, so the music you started making.
Yeah, I
took
think
this
we got a
darker turn.
lot like closer being in the band, and we both write the songs and
Yeah.
stuff. So it was like
and we started
you know,
writing together right away,
Yeah.
which was I'd never really done before. So it's cool. It was like
Yeah.
it's fun to have somebody to bounce things off and finish things. And sometimes I'd write music and just give it to her, and she'd finish it, or vice versa, or we'd like trade off lines, and you know,
Right.
it's fun. Just it's sometimes like trying to write songs. It's I don't know. It's not always fun by yourself.
By yourself, yeah, it can be
it's a lot. We'd like
pretty
Yeah.
tedious.
get on
or
the roll.
sometimes you have like a lyric and you're like, I don't know about this, and like so I'm like, what do you think of this, Damien? He'll sometimes be like, oh, I think that's really cool. I'm like, really?
Yeah.
Or sometimes he'll be like, yeah.
Like suggestion,
So-
maybe change this a little bit,
Yeah.
change the phrasing, change
Yeah.
a couple words.
Or there'll be times I'm like, all right, here's what the song's about, and I'll tell him like this like story or whatever, you know, like, all right, here's what the song's about, and so we'll just get together and start like, all right, well, she's now she's like rattling down the hall, or like we write down these lyrics just from like kind of telling a story together, you know.
Yeah,
So
that's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
it's fun.
Well, that's great. I didn't realize how much of a like team you guys were being on this whole thing. Like I didn't know, because I know that you guys came from separate bands originally and have been, you know, I don't know, institutions in the local scene for a long, long time. So because you used to be part of another band, Betty Finn.
Yeah.
You used to be John Street Porch Band
Yeah.
decades ago, right?
Yeah.
And
And-
Shannon was in.
Shannon was in
Right.
this,
Yeah, you and your sister have been kind of the teammates this whole time as well.
Yeah.
And,
That's
I
how we met Damien, was we played shows with them,
oh yeah.
with the Haymakers.
Right. Because, yeah, you were part of Haymakers. I mean, we all knew each other
Yeah.
Yeah.
for decades.
Yeah,
just
no,
kind of
since high school.
like playing out. Yeah,
Yeah.
just from just playing out and playing shows. And you're just like, oh, you know, this person's in this band, this person's in this
Uh-huh.
band. Yeah. And, but you guys have managed to kind of keep that together and, like, kind of maintain part of the scene, because I'm not in it anymore. I've taken much of a back seat, so.
Yeah, well, then you know, when Shannon heard us playing, she was like, "Can I be in the band?" And we were like,
I'm like, I don't know, we don't need a keyboard player.
She's like, "I'll play bass." And we're like, all right. And she
Yeah.
plays the bass. It's cool.
Right.
She's like,
She's
just made a
learned to play.
decision to play the bass.
No, she wasn't originally the bass player?
She was a keyboard player.
Oh, okay.
But one time we had a project, do you know Wednesday, the jazz singer, Miss Wednesday?
She's really good.
Oh,
She's
from,
really good.
Did she used to run the Hudson Street? No, I'm thinking somebody
Oh,
else.
she, one time she was like, she'd be at those block parties and she was like the MC.
Yeah, I'm not sure if I remember
anyway.
exactly.
She had a side project and she asked us to back her, and I played guitar and Shannon played bass, and that was before Tell Teenagers, but that was just like a kind of a one-off, like a one-off show.
Yeah.
So that was the only time I'd known her to play bass before that.
Well, she obviously has the talent. I
Yeah.
mean, especially if you're a
She knows
keys
music.
player. I mean,
Yeah.
She's got, yeah.
picking up any other instrument's not really that hard.
Yeah.
Just
Yeah,
a matter of like
I
getting your
think she
fingers used
could-
to it.
She could play anything she wanted to if she wanted
She just
to.
really put her mind to it.
Yeah, she's got their dad plays, their mom plays. There's a lot of music in the family, and
That's great.
yeah, their mom is really good.
Yeah. And so now you're actually opening up the show that you guys are doing soon.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm playing all night.
Less people to pay, you know.
Yeah, right.
Usually, we've done this a few times before, and usually I'm like, all right, as long as I can play like right, after myself, so I'm not like spending the whole night, trying not to get drunk is usually what the
Right.
thing is. I'm like, all right, I can't really drink until after I play. But but Beta Motel is playing, and they needed to go on early because they're doing a what is it called?
DJ night?
No, it's a DJ night. I forget what it's called anyway.
Something specific to cassettes?
It's like, is
I don't
it called
think it's
cassettes?
cassette.
Or no, that was a different one.
Yeah, I don't know.
Anyway, they're doing a DJ night at dusk.
Oh, okay.
Anyhow, but so they had to go kind of early if they were gonna play. So we kind of like, I'm playing before and after. So we'll see how that goes.
Oh, so
gonna be
Game of Thrones is
long.
going to be the sandwich between your two
My
performances.
two bands, yeah.
Cool. It sounds great. I mean,
It's gonna be a lot of fun.
yeah, I think I'm going to try to make it. I mean, I've never been to a
Cherry Pit's
SKU.
really good.
Yeah.
It's a cool spot too.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've ducked out for a long time, so.
Well, did you go to like Century Lounge back in the day?
Oh yeah, it's that old room.
Yeah.
Same spot.
Oh, okay.
The same.
Looks the same.
Yeah.
Yeah. Not even a different sound system, really.
That's a different sound system.
Oh.
It's a pretty good one though, right?
Yeah, it sounds good in there.
Yeah.
All right.
I think it's it's not the same they have.
Well, just the lineup itself. I mean, I think it's a pretty good bill.
Yeah, they've been getting a lot of good shows there too.
Yeah. Well, someone's got to pick up the slack around here. I mean, there's not very many venues, really.
There's not.
Yeah.
And the good nights are usually taken like months in advance.
Yeah, it's like really hard to
book something
Book like
on
a
the weekend.
weekend, yeah.
Yeah. I think I just booked a weekend in May, like 3 weeks ago. Like that was the first weekend night available. Was like sometime in May.
Didn't we book our show? We have a show coming up in February, Tell Teenagers at Dusk, and I think we booked that in August.
Yeah,
September?
September.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah, it's
Wow,
like
yeah.
that far out. If you want to play like on the weekend.
Right.
Weeknights are tough for us.
Yeah. Right. Of course. Because you got to go see other shows.
Right, because I'm at another show on Wednesday.
Cool, man. Well, I'm just happy to hear about the show and how you guys are just kind of grinding away at this stuff, and it's just really cool to, because I didn't realize you
Grinding away is
guys.
a good way to put it.
Oh yeah.
No, it's just kidding.
Well, I mean, it's because I can imagine how much time I put into doing this stuff, and how much time you guys, and I know what it's like to be in a band. So you're in like 2 bands each, and the kids, and the family, and the jobs, and the house, and all that stuff. It was
Yeah.
like, how does that even work for you guys? I mean,
Well,
it's
Sleep.
I don't
Very
sleep a lot.
much.
Yeah.
yeah.
I slept like
It's just
4
literally
hours
just-
last night.
But you really have to prioritize. I mean, you just have to prioritize it, not let
Right.
it slip out of your
Yeah.
schedule because
It's-
it's hard to work back in.
Right.
It's like,
It's
that's
sometimes
I
really
never,
hard to just play like on my own.
Yeah. So if it weren't for the band, you might not pick up an instrument.
I didn't really. I felt like when I didn't have the band, like I would pick up my guitar and stuff, but it was like I didn't really know what to play. You know what I mean? Like I pick it up and I'm like, eh. But playing with the band, like I'm kind of writing songs and I'm constantly like, or I'll practice our other songs or play stuff. But like when I didn't have a band, I kind of was just like, it just felt like stale for me, like playing on my own, you know?
Huh. I can see that. I mean, I kind of have gone through that myself. Like, that's the worst part about trying to write music by yourself, is that you're like, there's no direction. Just
Yeah.
like, well, I can noodle around and just kind of play some notes and chords and stuff for a while, and then just get tired of it, and I'll put it down and just feel like I did nothing.
Yeah. And a
That's-
lot of times I do that even now with writing songs where I'm like, I'm gonna write a song today. And I'm like, this is what I'm doing, I'm putting it aside this time, and I'll sit there and I'll record on my phone, like just ideas and stuff, and then
Yeah.
I won't come out with a song. But later on, if I'm just like hanging around cooking dinner or something, and like the song will just like come to me, and I'm like, I'll run into like the room and I'll like put it all together. I feel like if I sit down and try to write a song, like it's usually not gonna happen.
Yeah, so you kind of take it when the lightning strikes.
Exactly, yeah.
Wow, that's great. That's really admirable. I mean, especially if you kind of dedicate yourself to that and take the time to be like, no, it's coming now. It's like, it's
Yeah.
almost like you're giving birth. It's just like, no, everything has to stop. We have to do this.
Yeah.
So, and you go and you do that.
Well, it was like when we started Tell Teenagers, or even like when we were doing our second album, I felt like the pressure of like Damien would be like, I wrote a new song. I'm like, crap, I didn't write a new song. You know, I'm like, it was like, I felt like I needed to like keep up with it. And then with Cherry Pit, like, we didn't have any songs, so I just like had to write. Like I think we have 9 songs now, and I wrote like 6 of them. But I was like, all right, I just gotta write songs because what are we gonna play? You know,
Right.
I gotta write
Material.
songs.
It's simple
Yeah.
as that. If you want to play AS220, you need songs.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That's
oh, right,
where
'cause they don't even let you
that's
play
where you
covers.
really show your, what you got.
I got called out by their sound guy sound checking, playing the bass line to My Girl. The place was empty, and I started going doo 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 doo, and the guy was like, hey, 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 no covers.
Oh, that happened to me the last time I started playing like the Batman theme song when Amelia was tuning. But nobody yelled at me, but Amelia's like, no covers. I'm like,
Yeah.
I'm like, I didn't even realize. I didn't even think about it.
Jesus.
Yeah.
That's the real deal.
So I'm just gonna do my thing where I'm actually just recording the record, kind of just showing it off. I know this thing looks beat.
So how do you know that this is the first pressing?
So first pressing, third variant.
Okay.
So you obviously know a thing or two about variants of records. I'll show you what I mean. So from the research that I've done, this is an original from, what year was it? 65 was it?
60. This was 69.
69.
Yeah.
Okay. So this third variant, you can tell it's a third variant because they changed from ASCAP to BMI,
Huh.
which I was going to ask
Speaking
you about.
of AS220, isn't that why you can't play covers?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. So, I mean, this is like publishing rights stuff, but for some reason, yeah, this is the ASCAP label.
Huh.
Like you can see that they credit the songwriting to ASCAP.
Yeah.
Where I guess on the first two variants, it was credited to BMI,
Oh, okay.
which I don't know anything about the publishing companies, ASCAP, BMI, CSAC, all that stuff. I mean, I've never had to work with them really.
Yeah.
Actually, I think I did sign up with BMI a long time ago, but I've never done anything with it. I've never followed up on it, never like received a royalty
Yeah,
check.
I don't know,
Yeah, I didn't know.
how any of that stuff works.
Yeah.
And that's
Oh, so they're the ones that collect your royalties. So you're either
Well,
signed up with BMI or ASCAP. And
Yeah, I guess they kind of keep track of your
yeah, they
Your
find out who's
airplay,
playing your stuff,
who's
like in
using it.
restaurants and
right.
yeah. So I guess that they were signed up with.
Yeah, or the
BMI
streaming
and
services now, you know, obviously they keep track of like how many listens you get per service, per platform, you know,
No, it's
Spotify,
paid
Pandora,
attention to
whatever.
that.
They are, they're supposed to be, because they're supposed to be paying you for it.
Yeah, I got like
we get
a
like
couple
3
dollars.
cents a month.
Yeah, well, it's something like what, I think I
Wait,
heard, no, it's for every million plays you get, you might make like $5,000 or something like that. But it's just like, think about that, like, okay, wait,
yeah.
Yeah, I think
That seems high.
I
1 million plays, like, 1 million people play this once.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I make $5,000 off that. It's like, you're on a different level if you're getting exposed to like a million listens of anything.
Oh, I know.
So,
We're under 1,000
Yeah.
for I think.
right.
Still.
I'm well under 100 at this point, so, you know, it's not that big.
It's not that bad.
They won't even tell us how low it is. It just says under 1,000.
I think I did look and find out, but yeah, it's under 1,000.
You know.
People,
You
like,
gotta- you
I
gotta-
mean, our listeners are listening to our CD. They're not going on Spotify.
The 60 CDs we sold are in constant rotation.
Yeah.
I'm positive.
Well, so you guys released 2 records, 2 full-length records
Yeah.
so far, and you're working on a third?
Mhm.
Yeah, so we did the first one. We wanted to do it like right away. So I think we played our first show in the end of November, and we recorded in January,
Released it in April.
released it in April. And then
Mhm.
we wanted to do another one within a year, which maybe wasn't the best idea because we'll talk about it tonight. Me and Shannon, it's like a little rushed.
Yeah.
Line up
I think it was still like really good. I think we just didn't put a lot of time into like promoting it. Like where the first one we kind of got a lot of like people, you know, bloggers or whatever, like people talking about it, and the second one kind of was a little bit more under the radar.
Yeah. Well, I can understand that mentality though, because I always felt like, especially after having done this for years, being in bands for all these decades, you're very well experienced, and you know what kind of to expect when you're making a record and when you're going to put it out, right? And even as far as a new band is concerned, actually, I thought that you guys did a really smart thing, because you guys kind of rolled out hard. Like when you guys did the Tall Teenagers, it was just like the leaking of the artwork, you know, the leaking of the name, you know, basically basically announcing a record coming out before you even did a show, right? Wasn't it something like that?
Was it?
I feel like that's how
I
I
felt
remember
It
like
was definitely the artwork was before anything.
Yeah, we
Yeah.
had an advantage in the in-house artist. And,
Yeah,
Right.
my husband does all our art.
And,
Oh yeah, that
and
does
he
help.
came up with something right away that we really liked, and it.
I think we just stole stuff he already had.
Maybe.
We're like, how about that in this
That's even
one?
more convenient.
Yeah,
There you go.
yeah, he didn't even have to like do. I mean, he did, but
But we definitely wanted to have something out right away though. And,
Right. Because then you have something to kind of like give to your audience, right? Because you're gonna roll out, you're gonna play your first shows, and people are gonna be excited. You know, you already have people that you know that are gonna know who you are and gonna want to check out what you're doing now, and then that way you have a CD, you have a full length record that's ready for them to purchase, right?
Yeah, yeah.
I think that was kind of the idea. That was my idea actually. Like when I wanted to, like if I was gonna do a new band at this point, I know that that's what I would do. Like
yeah,
Make
I
sure I
think
have the
having
recording
having
done.
one thing done is good. And with Tall Teenagers, we kind of just financed it. Like we just were like, all right, we're just gonna split it up and all like chip in for this, and we did that for a couple records.
do you wanna look?
That's really nice.
And we did it at Machines. Machines was really great at, like the first record was 9 songs, and we did all the instrumentation for the 9 songs on the first day. Second day we did all the vocals, and the third day it was mixed. So we did the whole thing in 3 days, which they were just really good at moving you along and getting you through from song to song.
Machine-like.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah.
Just like the name.
like Machines.
Yeah,
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 with
and,
magnets.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, they're a great record. They're a great recording studio, aren't
Yeah,
they?
Yeah.
I haven't
They got-
recorded with them.
They got real deal stuff, and the engineer.
Super pro.
Yeah, he's. we
Did
had-
Seth work
we
on
had
the record?
Seth
Or
do
was
it,
it
yeah.
Kevin?
So,
So
I mean,
Keith, I think Keith tuned the drums on the first one.
and did he master it?
He might have mastered it, and then but Seth was the engineer for both of them, and he's just, you know, when we were like, he was so fast with like the little fixes and the edits and stuff. If there was like one little thing, he's like, oh yeah, I already took care of it. It was
Yeah.
like, it was
We're like,
just,
I had a clam on that part. He's like,
He's
yeah,
like, yeah,
that's
yeah,
done. That's
done."
fixed.
It
Yeah.
was just-
Wow.
and yeah, he's like very, very focused and pretty crazy work ethic.
Yeah.
Nice guy. Yeah. It was,
Yeah, those guys are great. I mean, and they've been just putting out so many good records, like
Mhm.
from so many different bands that are just, they've just been able to attract that attention already from like bands just know that that's the studio to go to if you're gonna go to Rhode Island.
Mhm.
So that's great that you got to record it for both records now, right?
Mhm.
But now, I'm assuming it's financial reasonings that
The
you want
fi-
to record
financing
We just,
yourselves, right?
yeah, we're gonna try it ourselves. Well, we're kind of really interested in that, and like the things I like spending my money on is like recording like gear, like just
Yeah.
like I just want to see what we can do on our own, and plus we want to kind of get a little more crafty with it and not record in 3 days, like and
Yeah, 'cause it was,
kind of put some more time into things
Right.
like sonically and figure out what we can do with like actually producing the songs, you
Mhm.
know.
Right.
yeah, it was like when we played, I was using the exact same rig I play live with like, I was switching pedals and doing, we didn't stop and fiddle with knobs between songs to get the perfect solo. It was like, that's the way it sounded,
Right.
and that's maybe not the way records are made.
Well,
So,
Well, with you being in a
So-
studio and you're paying
that's
for
the thing,
every
we just
minute
had
that
to,
you're
we had
there.
to correct.
Yeah.
So it's just like, and especially with those guys being as diligent as they are,
Yeah,
being as
those-
professional as they are, they're kind of doing that to help you, because they're like, you don't
Just
want to
get it
go a
done
day
in time.
over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like you're paying
Well, that's
so
how
much
we are.
money.
Yeah, we're like, all right, we got to get this done in these 2 days, and we don't want to
Right.
go over like that because that's
Yeah,
another
yeah.
whole day.
We needed a
Right.
babysitter, and,
Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah,
so
I'm sure
it
it was a massive expense. You might as well like be shacked up in a hotel for a few days. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
it can pile up quickly. So yeah, recording on your own, I mean, just makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And we're
maybe
also
we'll-
kind of time crunched now, like especially we have our other 2 bands, but just everyone has family things, and our drummer he's back in school and he's working, and so it's just there's a lot
Is
of
it Sean?
Sean, yeah.
Okay. I feel like he's the missing link, like he's the uncredited person. Like checking out your medias, like your websites and all that stuff. None of your names are listed anywhere.
So it might be an oversight. I don't know. I'm not really good at the.
That's
She's
social
good at that
medias.
stuff.
We just got on Instagram actually
yeah,
recently.
Yeah,
We have like
it's
one
steep,
post.
you know, for sure. But I just think it's funny because I
You gotta buy the CD. Our names are in it.
Oh,
You have to buy the book.
Yeah.
that's how everyone has to find out who you are.
Yeah.
Either that or they come to the shows and they talk to you. They're like, hey, who the hell are you? What's your name?
I'm trying to find out your name.
I can't find it anywhere, so here I am.
That works too. Hey, that's another like a sneaky marketing scheme thing.
Yeah. It's been working really
It's not
well.
working. It's not working. It's really
No,
hard.
I think it's been great. I mean, like I said, from the outsider looking in, because that's what you really want to focus on, right? As being in a band, you want to know that anything that you're doing, anything that you're putting out, for anyone to see, whether it's the social media stuff, it's any kind of advertising, that what their impression is of you. Because like I thought that that was what I was getting at. Like if I were to start a band, it's just like I want people to think that I'm a professional band. I don't want, like I told this kid that I was trying to play with before, I was like, I don't want to play shows. I don't want to play local shows. Like I want the record done, and I want to have the artwork done, and I want to be able to like have it all out for the first show. As I say, I don't want to fuck around with this,
So
like,
I think
Wednesday night, at 10
Yeah,
o'clock.
no,
you kind of
there.
trick people into thinking that you've already done all of
Well,
you know,
because you
like-
have.
Yeah,
you put
because
all
you
these
did, yeah,
years of
yeah.
experience. I mean,
Yeah.
it's
It's
just
not
like,
trick. I don't mean like trick. It was just like
We
saying,
also had a lot.
we're a
Well,
real band already.
Right.
Here we got
It's
stuff.
the
We have
impression that you
t-shirts.
get,
We're a real
exactly.
band.
yeah, we had a
It's
lot of
like-
friends that kind of like were, giving us opportunities and stuff. Like in the a lot in the beginning. Damien had a lot of friends. I didn't really know anyone.
no, from all your years too. I mean,
I feel like the people that I used to see in Providence like aren't really around as much anymore. I don't know if I know very many people from back like then.
well, we are getting older,
Yeah.
and with the
I
kids and all that
stuck
stuff,
it out.
Yeah, exactly. Well, good for you, because I mean, because you're still doing the whole thing, the whole family thing, but you're still sticking it out. Like I'm trying to stick it out.
It's
I'm
hard.
trying to,
It's
but
hard.
it's just it is hard, and it's just, I mean, I work all day and then I'm tired and I just don't want to go out.
Yeah.
And
It's just like that's the worst part. Is just like, oh, can I just stay home? Like it
But-
sounds great. I know that's going to be a lot of
it's
fun.
easier when you're in a band because you really have to.
Right.
I mean, I enjoy it, but in the beginning when we were like look at the shows coming up and be like, all right, somebody's got to go here, somebody's got to go here. It's just you want to be out,
Right.
show you want to support bands you like, you want to let them know that it's okay to support you as well. It's
Right.
like it's just good to be out.
Well, yeah, it's a mutual give and take. The whole being part of the scene.
Yeah, it's
Plus, it's actually a little bit of an incentive to be in a band and be in a good band and be able to play with the people that you're influenced by or that you like. Because, I mean, you guys, would you say that doing that show opening up for John Doe is probably like your most famous show, as famous person you got to open up for?
I think that was the only. Oh no, we opened for
yeah.
Tommy Stinson too. Were those the only famous?
Yeah, well,
people?
we did one of the BRU summer concerts here.
Yeah,
Oh,
that
okay.
was probably
That
our
was
biggest show.
that was like the biggest crowd wise.
But John Doe.
John Doe was the
probably
coolest,
the
for
coolest,
sure.
and he was awesome.
He was way
he
cool.
hung out with us and talked to us. Like he was a cool dude.
Yeah,
awesome.
like
Yeah.
like for a pretty odd amount of time. He was
Yeah.
hanging out.
I
bullshitting
didn't.
with us.
I
It was
expected
really
him
cool.
probably
It was
not
really
even
cool.
to say hi.
Yeah.
That's just what you
That's what
expect.
you're used to.
Yeah.
Right.
But yeah, it was cool. It was really cool.
That's great. Yeah, because I mean, I can imagine, any kind of famous person, it might be hard to break through to them and, have them feel like they owe you anything.
Yeah, and they're also sick of talking. I mean,
Yeah.
Yeah.
everybody wants to talk to them, and
And
Right.
plus, how many opening bands do you
how
think
many?
they've seen,
Yeah,
you know?
Right.
And he watched us, and he
Oh,
was
cool.
like, I think he was talking to maybe Clarkin, like oh, like he was like enjoying it,
Yeah.
So that was cool.
Well, I don't know. I imagine it gets tiring
Yeah.
to have, to have to. It's a very. think I was listening to like, you know, John Doe's not Paul McCartney, but I was listening to Paul McCartney say, he's like, I always try to remember that when I'm meeting somebody, it doesn't mean anything to me, but it's like the most important thing in their life. You know, it's just like I try to
Right.
not, you know, just remember that.
It's pretty much how I act, like all the time.
Well, like, I think like, you know, that's it was John Doe had that kind of. He's just like, oh, you know,
Really?
maybe these people really like me, you know, it should be cool to them. Maybe this is really important to them. Like it's a cool thing to think about.
Well, yeah, I mean, anyone opening up for him, like, from his perspective, anyone opening up for him, or for me, I'll say, and you know, people that are there at the show, you know they're there to see you. I mean,
Yeah.
you know you're a legend.
Yeah.
You know, it's just like, I've been doing this for decades and like have this like iconic like cult following, like, yeah, no shit, like people like who I am and what I do.
Yeah.
And that's a kind of cool, like, to be humble about it is probably the most important thing, because, you know, he could be kind of a dick about it and just not be very approachable, and he can still know, yeah, these people still fucking worship me, it doesn't matter.
Yeah.
But that's cool.
Yeah,
I
he
mean,
could have like hid out. I mean, there were like other rooms that he could have just like, you know, been like, no, I gotta chill on my
Yeah.
own or whatever, and he didn't. So.
Well, that room is cool for that too, right? Because that was at Pop.
Was it Pop?
Yeah.
I only went there for the first time like a few weeks ago.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's so
It's a
cool.
Cool spot.
Yeah.
Very cool. Very nice room.
I went to
like-
see David Johansen there. It was really, and Richard Lloyd too.
Yeah.
He's had some really cool people over there.
Yeah, it's like he that I don't know who runs it, but I don't know how they're going about getting these acts, but they're
It's
like getting top notch.
Darren Hill.
They're all. He knows all these people.
He's like
He personally knows them all.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, he managed like the New York Dolls and
Oh,
Mr.
okay.
Berg, and he does the replacement stuff. And yeah, he's like he managed the Boss Tones. He's like
Yeah, he's.
Oh, he's been a long time like vet of like management.
think
So he like had this like collection of like furniture and you know all the stuff that he sells, and so
Right.
he just wanted to open this place where he could sell it. But I think it's more just to like display it. I mean,
Yeah.
I'm sure he wants to sell it, but it's
Yeah,
like
yeah.
just a place where he like has collected all the stuff and he displays it, and then he has this gallery, and so he just has these like shows, and they're like playing them for a favor, you know, like. I mean, they're getting paid, but it's not. I mean, tickets are usually like $15.
Yeah.
yeah,
For
it's
the
cool.
shows,
It's like it's
yeah.
stuff that you shouldn't be able to see in a place. It's cool. It's
Right,
like-
and especially because
it's
it's like
special stuff, you know. It's
maybe a what, like a 200 person capacity, maybe.
if that, yeah.
If that, yeah.
Yeah, and it's so it's a cool place.
Yeah, I'm gonna definitely try to get out there more often if I see something else coming through there. So, well, let's get to this record, just because you know, we've been shitting the shit for a while now,
Alright.
and I really want to listen to this. Yeah, fuck it, let's just start. And I'll refresh your drinks while I'm at it too. Oh, and please be gentle with the table, because this will skip very easily. My turntable is very sensitive. Chelsea, when's the first time you heard this, or do you remember
No,
this record in particular? You don't have a memory of?
I have a lot of memory loss.
Well,
I definitely remember around the time I really started appreciating this song in particular. Like it just the words to this are just
kills me every
Oh.
time.
I remember the approximate time frame. So I remember who I was hanging out with, that I worked with, that I was listening to a lot of this, and he was into it as well. But yeah, just lyrically, it's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, Lou Reed is known for that, but I think at the time, so my first experience was, I bought this on CD, and it was at the time of my life, I was 18, I was living on my own, on the east side of Providence, in a basement apartment, and every week I would work, and I would get my paycheck, and I'd go to Tom's Tracks or In Your Ear, and buy a new CD, and so this is one of the first CDs I bought. Oh, Jesus. No feedback protection. I want to hear it. I guess it's a little loud, unfortunately, even though it's so quiet. So, yeah, this was one of my first purchases,
Oh.
and I remember listening to it in that basement apartment,
That's
and
cool.
just by myself in the dark. It was a nice apartment actually.
It's a nice
considering.
place to live. I kind of wish I had done something like that.
Well,
Like,
it was actually a really nice basement apartment. Like even though it was like wood paneled, it's a little 1-bedroom place. Like and it had a surprisingly good amount of natural light.
yeah.
It had this like one big window that had like mostly like a half exposed foundation.
Was it like a walkout basement apartment or no? Just like
No,
straight
it wasn't.
basement?
It was probably very legal, but it had like a oversized window, like an escapeway.
So an
I think
egress.
that's how they got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's how they probably got away with it. But and it was funny because I remember years afterwards, I ran into Eric Paul from Arab on Radar, and I started working with him, and we were just like shooting the shit one day, and he's just like talking to me about how he used to live on the east side of Providence. I was like, oh really? He was like, what street did you live on? It's like Pittman. I was like, oh, I used to live on Pittman. He's just like, yeah, I used to live in this like 1-bedroom basement apartment. I was like, where? He's just like, oh, like 3 houses down from the East Side Marketplace. And it's like, wait, was that? I forget the number now, but it was just like, he was like, yeah, that was the apartment I used to live in.
Really?
Yeah, and he was like, I was like, I'll show you. He's like, takes his ID out, and he's just like, see, that was the apartment I was living in.
Holy crap.
And it was just like, oh man, that's awesome. But yeah, this is.
That Salvation Army used to be the best.
It
It's a
was.
good one, yeah.
I'm so sad that place closed, man.
But did it close?
Yeah, it's gone.
What?
Which one? The
The
big
Pittman
one
Street one?
where
That
the
big
near
one
the
over there
bridge?
east?
Oh.
It's it?
When?
Oh, I feel like it was years ago, I think.
No.
Wow.
No.
I used to get a lot of stuff there.
Pretty sure it
I
was
got a
like years
turntable
ago.
there like 2 years ago.
That was probably the last
They
time
had
they were
a huge
open.
furniture section in that one, right?
Yeah, that was a good place. And I was
Yeah.
like right there, right next to it. But probably how I furnished that apartment.
Last time I was there, I found a ton, not a ton, like 12 sealed, nice, high bias blank cassettes. It was awesome.
Oh yeah?
Total score.
Are you still into cassettes? Do you still?
I make cassettes still, yeah.
Yeah? That's awesome. I found one recently, actually. I sold it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like,
I sell everything.
I sold a cassette for $170 not recently, like 2 years ago.
170?
The Raekwon, the purple tape. So
Oh,
one of
really?
the guys from Wu-Tang.
Yeah, yeah.
For some reason, this tape just like exploded in value. I sold it on eBay. $170.
Wow.
Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah.
I'll look for that.
Yeah.
I actually, I just sold, so that's what I do. Like I've been selling records and stuff, which is why I kind of like had the idea to make this show. Because when you're buying a record online, you don't know what you're getting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Do you buy records online every now and then?
Not used ones. Not usually something special that I'll never find, like
Yeah.
like Kink singles and EPs and stuff like that, or like stuff on picture sleeve kind of stuff that you don't, you'd have to wait around forever to see. I'll
Yeah.
buy that, but I don't like regular used stuff that I don't know.
Right.
No.
It's gonna start down a little bit because it's feeding back. Yeah, no, I hear what you mean. I mean, like obviously, the more rare, the more incentive you have to look for it online because you can't necessarily go to a record store
Yeah.
locally and try to find something like that.
Well, I also like kind of letting the store decide what I buy that day. Like, if I could go and find everything I wanted,
Right.
and I wouldn't find something that I didn't know I wanted.
Right. So you kind of limit yourself to what they
Well,
have.
yeah, like
and
I'm
make
gonna
a
buy
choice.
two or three things today, and
Yeah, that's
maybe
cool.
not what I was looking for, but
Right. Well, that's kind of like what I was doing back then. Like when I first found this record, it was just like I'm gonna go into the record store and I'm gonna buy like 1, maybe 2 CDs. That's because I didn't have a turntable at the time, so I just used to buy CDs and yeah, I would just experiment. I would just like kind of take a little bit of knowledge of what I knew. Like, oh, okay, I've heard about the Velvet Underground. I don't know which record is good, so I'm just gonna buy one, and it was this one. And then I was.
is this
pleasantly
your
surprised.
favorite one?
I don't know.
I don't either. So, we were talking about it last night with Mikey and Chuck, and I was like, I don't know what my favorite one is. I'm like, so again, I like heard them all at once,
Yeah.
and like 5 discs in a row, and so Yeah.
They're all very different.
All
Yeah,
very
totally.
different. Yeah.
They are.
I'd say the first two are more similar than the others.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think so.
But-
This was, okay, so actually, so the research I did on this record is the one where Sterling Morrison joined.
Doug Ewell.
Doug Ewell.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
John Cale left before this one.
Oh, okay. So Doug Ewell was the new member in this lineup
Yeah.
for this record. So,
Yeah,
Does
Sterling Morrison was an original member, I thought.
what's that?
I thought Sterling Morrison was an original member.
Yeah, the guitar player, right. No, you're right about that. I got confused, but so I guess historically speaking, they wanted to focus on like kind of like the song crafting for this recording, and even focus a little bit more on like Lou Reed's lyrics. Like I guess so another thing about one of the first pressings, which is a very very valuable record, was they call it the closet mix. And I guess Lou Reed's vocals are bumped up like a lot, so you can kind of hear them a lot better. I mean, they're already pretty predominant, I feel like, in this record, but
I think didn't they release 2 mixes at the same time? Like,
yeah,
did he do a mix and like the record company did a mix or
I
something?
don't know really. You
I
know,
feel like his was the closet mix.
probably, yeah.
Yeah, and then the other one was like a more, I felt like I heard they were at the same time.
Yeah, that's very possible. I'm not really too sure.
And I think they said it was the closet mix because it sounded like you were in a closet.
With
like
him-
listening
with
to
him
it.
singing
Yeah,
to
yeah.
Which
It was very quick. He sings quietly on this.
he does.
Well, he's
Yeah.
had a very conversational singing style. So.
Yeah.
It's weird. You know, he was like a staff writer at a record label. Like, you know, he was like a Brill Building
Oh yeah,
staff
he
writer.
used to like write jingles, right?
Yeah.
Oh, did he?
Yeah. But
Like one of his first paying music jobs was
Yeah, I
writing
think he-
jingles. Yeah,
yeah, he was like
I didn't see
a
that.
writer for some label, like Pickwick, I think, maybe. And but
something like that. Yeah.
just imagine like what other people were turning in and what Lou Reed was turning in. It would be like, wow.
Yeah, I
What's
can't
wrong
remember.
with this guy? It's like-
Oh, did you hear any of them?
No.
Oh, I'd love to hear it.
Yeah, I don't
But you
remember.
can tell he knows how to write a pop song though. He
Yeah.
knows the
Right.
as strange as this stuff can get. It's always listenable and catchy. You know.
Yeah, I mean, plus I'm sure for that stuff, like he kind of resorted to his kind of like typical like the rock cachet in the back of the mind, you know, like the more straight up like kind of like rock and roll stuff at the time, which yeah, I don't know. I mean, I don't know where he kind of went with this. Like I don't know, like obviously you know writing jingles, that's one thing. It doesn't even have to be very long. But then to progress into something like this, I don't know. I don't know where his influences were. I don't know like where he was coming from, like as far as the writing process is concerned. You know.
No, he's pretty one of a
I
kind.
feel like
I
this
don't-
was like a separation from like Warhol and like the Factory.
Yeah.
That's what I think I heard about this album. Like it was
This
where he was
record in
kind of like
particular.
going off and doing his own thing.
Lou Reed personally.
No, like the Velvet Underground, but not as part of like the Factory. Like kind of like getting a little bit away from that.
Right, separating themselves.
Yeah.
So that's where I think that's where the album cover was taken.
Oh yeah.
I think
Oh, yeah.
that photo is them at the Factory.
Yeah.
Let me see that.
But I think he was personally like fighting with Warhol
Yeah.
at that time.
I wonder. I mean, they had a very loving relationship, and from what I know, from what I have read, like interviews with Lou Reed and stuff like that, he definitely loved Andy Warhol, and he found Andy Warhol to be a very big inspiration to him because he was so just determined. Like he just had this drive to work like every day. And I think I remember hearing Lou Reed say something along the lines of like, you know, I would talk to Andy and like say, you know, he would ask me how many songs I wrote today, and I said like I wrote 6. He's like, well, you should have wrote 20. So go back and work more. Go work like finish 20 songs, like in a day. Are you fucking kidding me? Like Can you imagine how hard that is? I mean,
if you're not working.
if you're not working, you don't have
And
kids.
you're raising
Just
kids
dicking
and
around
stuff.
some
Yeah.
place called the factory.
Whatever.
You know, yeah,
I guess
sure.
that's true. Yeah.
Write 30.
I like that.
Yeah.
You know, tell you what, I'll write you 30 songs.
Yeah.
You pay me. Then you stay here all day long.
It's like I'm cool just to stay here. That's what.
Right. Well, that had something to do with it because I mean, so Andy Warhol produced the first record,
Mhm.
so he obviously believed in him to a degree.
Yeah.
And
Do
obviously
you
was
really think he
willing
was
to put
really
money.
producing it? I mean, he was just paying.
Well, he was
for
paying
it.
for exactly. That's what I mean by producing it.
Yeah.
He was just financing the whole thing.
Producing in like the film sense
The-
of the
yeah,
word.
Hollywood sense, yeah.
Yeah. So what do you think?
Who
of the
produced
quality?
this? It sounds great.
For
I love this.
40. How old is this now? It's from 69,
49.
49 years old. Wow.
Well, 50 now. Yeah. It's 2019 now.
I don't do math at all.
Wow, that's crazy.
Oh, it's 2019 now. I forgot.
Yeah.
Happy New Year.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's any production credits for this.
No, that's not on the
I don't
back.
think there's anyone. Director of engineering was Val Valentine.
Oh,
I wonder if that's a real name.
Val, I'm gonna look it up.
Yeah, look it up. I don't get any internet out here. My Wi-Fi doesn't reach.
Oh no.
No.
You need a Wi-Fi extender.
I know. I was looking for one.
Yeah. They
But,
just plug in the wall.
Well, I think I tried to find one.
Interface.
I
I
bought
like a
one.
robot.
I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask my wife if she'd like to change our internet provider, because if we do that, because we have fucking Verizon Fios right now, and
Mhm.
really haven't been happy with it. Really haven't been at all, and we've had them since we lived in Providence.
I think we had Fios, but we had to. So we got like the super fast speeds, but we had to get a lot of like satellites.
Yeah.
Like, so if you get the Google, this is like so lame to talk about right now.
No, we're cutting edge, man.
Yeah.
We're on this.
If you get like the Google Home, like the Google Wi-Fi thing, it comes like with these satellites, and you can put
Okay.
them so you can reach farther.
Right.
So it's
right.
not necessarily like your provider; it's more like how
Mhm.
far your signal can reach.
Right. Yeah, but so the thing is that my Wi-Fi is like at the front of my house, just like all the way over there.
Yeah.
So that's why it's not reaching out here. So I was just figuring, like, okay, well, what if we like just have them come in and have Cox come in and give us some new service, and while they're at it, considering
Yeah.
you're gonna have to
Hook
rewire
up the
us,
garage.
just have them put it in like, you know, on the back side of the house, and that way
Mhm.
it'll be more central to the shed here and the rest of the house, because the kids are on all the devices too. So like,
Yeah.
we needed to kind of be more central amongst the house because they have their.
We were getting
Their Wii U
tons
and
of
their
data
tablets.
overages because our Wi-Fi wasn't working in our bedroom. Like all the music I would listen to and lying in bed or whatever, was charging, costing me money. So
Yeah.
it was like, took a while to figure it out, but my Wi-Fi
Right.
would shut off when I was in my bedroom.
Yeah, I don't like that either. Like, you know, I'm supposed to get like free coverage in my house. You know, if you're on Wi-Fi, I'm supposed to have Wi-Fi in my house, and it's just like it just drops on my phone all the time. Like, what the fuck am I paying for?
Yeah.
So that's kind of why I want to like change it up and try a new provider, see if it'll be better.
You guys have Cox, right?
You do. Yeah, so it said produced by the Velvet Underground. So.
Oh, okay. So yeah, they kind of took over at this point. I wonder what it was like for White Light, White Heat, because that was the second record.
I don't know.
Well, I mean, I was reading that book, and I'm not very far in it. The "Please Kill Me"
Oh,
one.
yeah.
Oh.
But I know there was a sort of falling out or like a little bit of a rift, you know, between Lou Reed and Andy Warhol, and then right after that is when they said that what's his name, John Cale. John Cale left the band.
Oh.
So which if the other David Yule like
Doug Yule.
Doug Yule started before this album, then that the timeline kind of makes sense, you know?
Yeah. So they were just like kind of going through a lot of turmoil.
Yeah. So maybe that's like the shift in, you know, the sound and stuff.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I really don't know a lot about this history. I did try to research it, and I just didn't really find a lot of like, you know, good information.
Yeah.
Especially because like, I think my mind is really concise to like this type of stuff, like where I want to like know about like, well, what studio they recorded, like when did they record, like, you know, when, where, with who.
Yeah.
And
It's
stuff like
interesting to
that.
know what's going on in their lives right now. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like, oh, there
Yeah.
was a change in members, and you know,
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
because that can definitely affect what your music sounds
Right.
like.
That can have a huge effect.
Yeah.
And just their
Because the
personal
other guy
lives.
was strings. What did he play?
He played the viola and
Yeah.
Hale?
yeah, he's a
He
multi-instrument.
played bass and viola. Yeah. he played
Also, I don't know if it was in Please Kill Me or a different, or an Iggy Pop book, but I had read that when John Cale was producing the first Stooges record, that they were like sharing some house or something, and they had a pool, and he said when they all went swimming, and he said that John Cale had like black underwear, like fancy black underwear, and they said it was like the most impressive thing they'd ever seen in their life. They're like, oh my god, who is this guy? This guy, look at that, he's like a superhero.
It's like, I want this guy to produce my record. Man, he knows how to live.
Yeah, look at that,
You
he's
know?
wearing black briefs.
Just a life of luxury and comfort.
This guy knows how to live.
Yeah.
Look at what he's.
Yeah, coming from those guys, I mean, I can imagine like what kind of like destitute lives they were living.
Did you ever read that book?
No.
Please Kill Me. Oh,
No.
it's the greatest.
Oh, do you guys have time to read too? Get out of here.
That's the only book I read.
I'm trying to read it.
I only read books
I don't
about
have a lot
music.
of times to read. Well, what's funny is a lot of times I do make time for reading books because I feel like it really helps with writing lyrics. You know,
Yeah.
like just being, getting ideas and just like hearing
Right.
the way people put words together and stuff. But I don't have a lot of time to read. So I listen to a lot of audiobooks. But this
okay.
particular book is not available on audiobooks, so I'm like
Of course it's
trying to
not.
make time to read it.
Yeah.
It's tough though.
It's cool. Yeah, no, I always tell myself I want to try to read more, but I very, very briefly, when I first started my job, was just like, okay, I'm gonna make sure I take my lunch breaks and like read during my lunch breaks, because I don't want to fuck around on my phone. I don't want to like just sit there and do nothing basically.
That's a good idea.
But I only get half an hour. It's not a really extensive lunch break, but at the same time, I was just like, okay, I checked out a book from what's his name, Charles Bukowski, and I figured, oh, it's fitting. I'm a mail carrier. I might as well read, you know,
I didn't know you
what
read
was it called? The Post Office. His book.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah.
The only one I've read is Pulp. I think is the.
Yeah. Well, he's just a great writer, and so I was just like, oh, it's fitting. You know, he used to work for the post office. I'm gonna read this fucking book.
Yeah, and it's okay to read at work because people are like, oh, you're like reading the history of the post office.
Yeah, I'll read the instruction manual.
Yeah.
God forbid I
it's the
followed
rules.
his instructions.
Yeah, right.
He was
I imagine
great.
he was a gnarly postman.
He did a lot of bad things.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I can't imagine that it's very fictional.
Yeah, I see.
Yeah. I'm just like, this doesn't sound like. This sounds like something he would do.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like something that's too far-fetched.
Thought of doing it.
Oh, I wonder
Yeah.
now.
It's good. It's a good read. It's very.
Is
it's
this turned
very
into
funny.
a book club?
What's that?
Is this turned into a book club?
Sure,
No,
maybe.
but Please Kill Me though.
It is really good.
It's just so cool.
Yeah.
It's like
Well,
it's
the
all
way it's
all
written,
just
it's
quotes.
like it's like
Right.
like conversations and stuff that people are recounting these days. You know, so
Right. It's like all these
it's-
famous punk musicians.
yeah,
Yeah,
they're
it
just
starts with,
like
like-
little quotes from all of them, and it put together as kind of a story, you know,
Oh,
and then
okay.
it'll go on, move on from like Velvet Underground, and then move on to MC5 and the Stooges, and so it's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, so it starts like in LA and New York when they talk about the Doors, they talk about the Velvet Underground. And it's,
Huh.
And how they all like encountered each other, you know, like when
Yeah.
they first saw each other, and it's pretty neat
Hmm.
to. You know what I really liked was the Sonic Youth one, Girl in a Band. That one was
Oh, yeah.
really good. Did you read that one?
No, I
That
don't
one was
read
really
anything.
good too because it was like Kim Gordon was, you know, basically talking about being in Sonic Youth, but in the process she also ran into like all these other people, you know, like
Yeah.
so you're basically like seeing these people you grew up listening to, but hearing how they all kind of like met and like played shows together and, you know,
Mhm.
joined bands, and so that's another really good read.
Yeah. Huh. Yeah, see, I mean, my extent of education as far as music is concerned at this point, it's like just watching documentaries and
Yeah,
and then
that's cool
listening to
too.
music and the research that I do for the records that I find is pretty much a lot of the inspiration I get. And podcasts. I listen to a lot of interviews with
Oh,
people.
that's nice.
Yeah, like I listen to.
I don't explore podcasts enough.
No?
No.
It's
I mean, I
pretty
kind of
wild.
cracked out on stuff like Serial and, you know, those
Yeah.
kind of podcasts, but then,
I think I like the interviews more.
yeah.
There's one you and I just got into, which is actually really cool, which you probably would like. It's called Disgraceland. Super cool.
Yeah.
Basically,
What's
it's this guy that creates these shorter form. It's about like half an hour episodes, half an hour, 40 minutes, and it's about sex, drugs, and violence in rock and roll. These really detailed stories of like actual historical events that happen to certain musicians,
That's awesome.
and some of them involve murder.
Wow.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and it's just fucking crazy because I'm just like I remember hearing something about this, but then you like he provides you with a lot of like hard information that I'm sure he was looking through case files and stuff like
Yeah.
that.
That's cool.
That's awesome.
So
yeah,
stuff like
I totally
Jerry
like that.
Lewis's like murdered fifth wife, like
That's right up my alley.
Lisa Lopez's
yeah.
debacle, like
Yeah.
her
Andre Rison.
yeah, like burning her boyfriend's house down, his mansion down, and
Wasn't she like just trying to light his sneakers on fire in the bathtub?
Yeah, see, that's
Like,
like stuff I don't remember, but that's like
I remember her lighting his house on fire.
right. But then her death too, which happened,
That's right. Is she like in a Jeep accident or
How did
something?
she
in
die?
Honduras.
Yeah, it was
Oh.
something.
Yeah, I don't want to ruin it for you. You should listen. It's very interesting.
There's crazy stuff like that in Please Kill Me too. It's like when they get into like when the MC5 is like deteriorating into like heroin dealers and coke dealers and
Yeah.
stuff. They're like barricaded in their house with guns and drugs. It's
Yeah.
like, wow, these
I bet-
guys are crazy.
Maybe that'll be a new episode on his series when he starts it up again. But
Wasn't
pretty
it like, didn't William S. Burroughs like kill his first wife like at a party?
you see, that's the shit that I'm like. I feel like I've heard something vaguely
Yeah.
about it, but I
There's
don't
a
know
really
anything
good,
about
it might be a podcast or it's some sort of interview with Iggy Pop about William S. Burroughs. It's really good, and I think that's where I found that out. So look that one up.
All
Yeah.
right. Oh, well. So look, I'm gonna refresh your drinks if you want. Do you want another one?
Sure.
Sure.
Why not?
And then we'll put it on side two. Oops, sorry. Blow people away with that.
I'm gonna put that Disgraceland in my
Yeah, look it up.
Remember that?
what did he say? I don't remember.
But I listen to a lot of interviews. Just want to help yourself with some ice.
Sure.
Put my grubby hands all over it.
Put my grubby hands in my face.
Thank you.
I haven't washed them in days.
What's that?
I said I haven't washed them in days.
I shook hands with somebody really cool the other day. I was like, I'm never watching this hand again.
You're really cool. Homeless guy.
Never watching this hand again.
Careful what you say. I'm keeping all of this. It's all going out.
You get Matt's messing with me.
That's hysterical.
What a creep.
So last night he was like, so you're like doing this interview tomorrow. Like he was really interested about it. Like, yeah.
Oh no, I didn't do the censored version. The kids gonna watch?
Oh,
Kids gonna listen?
Oh, my.
oh no, we're talking about a grown up.
We're talking about a grown-up.
Oh, all right. I thought you were mentioning it.
He shows signs of adulthood.
That's the weird thing about my kid is that he's very interested in what I'm doing out here. So he's just like, oh, you're recording tonight? I was like, yeah, I'm doing an episode. He's just like, well, which episode is it? What's it going to be called? It's like episode 6.
Oh, do you name him or no?
Well, because he started his own YouTube channel,
Oh.
and yeah, he's just like, we got him a tablet for
So you gonna support
Christmas.
the family?
He got a tablet for Christmas from Santa, and yeah, he's just like, now he's just banging them out because now he's
Isn't
doing
it
it by himself.
crazy how much they're into YouTube? Like it's like that's their whole
Yeah.
world.
Yeah, there's no more like TV. There's no more Saturday morning.
Crazy.
No.
And even like when I take a video of my son doing anything, he goes, as soon as it's done, he goes, tell me how many likes I get. How many views? I'm like, it doesn't work like that. He's like, he thinks as soon as you like take a video, it's like out in the internet and people are
Right.
searching for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's such a different
subscribe to my channel.
Yeah.
I was like, how many likes did I get? I was like, you didn't get any likes. It's on my phone.
Oh, I had the creepiest experience with a kid in CVS. And yeah, I'm trying to think of where I was. I'm just in there, and there's a mom with her like little son. He was probably like 7, in front of me, and he's like chatting me up. He's like, "Hey," I'm like, "Hey, how you doing?" He's like, "Good. You know how many likes, how many YouTube followers I have?" I'm like, "I don't know." And I don't even. It was probably like 100 or something. And he was like, "Yeah, like I get like so many likes every day." And he just like went on in this full like out like YouTube, like how cool I am on YouTube. I'm like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like, they're really into that.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah. Well, it's the new currency, you know.
Yeah. And
So
they're
they're
like,
like-
this famous YouTuber was like, friended me on Fortnite, and I'm like, okay. I'm like, all those things are fake.
Not to them, it's not.
Yeah. None of those people are actually doing anything.
It's true. They're just playing a video game. It's
Mhm.
not that big of a deal.
And talking into a camera.
I used to just watch videos of people opening toys and
Oh,
playing
yeah.
with toys. I'm like,
I hated that.
oh,
Yeah.
the worst. It made them want every single toy on the planet, number one. But I was like, who's this kid? It's like a millionaire, and all he does is open toys.
Yeah.
That's-
Well,
that's-
even worse, like, because I have 2 boys, so they didn't watch this, but I saw it. It was like grown-up women playing with Barbies and like making them talk on YouTube, and
Oh,
kids
Jesus.
would watch this. Like, kids would watch grown-ups.
It was child
Make-
friendly? Because I can imagine.
Yeah,
that
no,
going
it
in that
was.
direction.
I mean, it's just creepy because like that's just weird, you
It
know,
is,
like.
yeah.
But yeah, a lot of like little like girls are watching like Barbies like hang out and talk to each other, and like that's some actual adult is putting that together.
Right? Yeah, I don't know. It's a lot of stuff out there. Craziness.
Crazy
Imagine if
place.
that person watches this.
No, yeah.
And
Nothing
you
but
get-
respect for you.
Yeah, I mean, I just think it's amazing how you got people to like a following. Like that's
Yeah, it's
so.
amazing how you got people to do that
I
because it
don't
just
know.
sounds ridiculous.
I don't know how I could spin that.
Isn't it spin? We're gonna come back
It's
from
no
that.
spin.
It's crap, okay?
It's
all right.
crap. Sorry, that's weird.
Well, I mean, most of your followers are
Totally
kids,
do
you know.
something.
Okay, you know, you have kids watching what you're doing. You can pretty much do anything. You can, and they'll watch it. So that's kind of where they get away with it.
Yeah.
You know.
Like, I'm gonna open this Lego set one bag at a
Right.
time.
Why can't we do that and make money?
We
You
can't.
can. You just gotta degrade yourself to
You have
that
to
level.
suck it up.
Go find some Ken dolls and just fucking go for it, dude.
Yeah. I mean, no one's gonna see your face.
No,
Oh, that's true. Yeah, you
It's
can
just
do that.
your
It's
hands.
completely anonymous.
What? What's wrong? What's wrong with my face?
I'm searching tomorrow. No, it's just so that you don't have to feel degraded yourself.
Yeah.
It's just like
You
no one
have to-
knows you're
You
doing
have to
it.
give up your music career to
Very
play with
self-conscious
$10.
about my hands too.
So now I'm gonna
They're
look
just
this
not.
up.
They're not camera ready. I don't know if I'm ready for the
Yeah.
toy videos.
Wow.
Yeah, you can just go to a nail salon. It's fine.
Just stick with music, okay? Just don't worry. Don't worry
This is
about it.
getting really complicated.
Yeah.
All right, so let's do side 2.
This sounds really great, by the way. It's super
It does.
clean.
Yeah, doesn't it? I was very happy about it because, sometimes when you're finding these things, you never know. And sometimes even the looks of them, like the Iggy Pop record, the Stooges record, Raw Power that I had, didn't look great, but it sounded pretty good.
Mm-hmm.
And
Well, I always wonder how when you see like a jacket that's like hammered like this, and the record inside is clean, I always like, wonder
How?
what happened.
Yeah.
Like, what?
well, they just listened to it a lot, but they cared for it.
It was like I have that same Stooges record I was telling you about that I bought at Tom's Tracks when I was a kid. The jacket's all taped up and mangled, and the record is like pristine. I'm like, what were they doing?
Yeah.
Well, I think just the number of times, like if you don't have that sleeve on
Right.
it, the number of times you pull it in and out of your record collection, like it's friction.
Yeah.
It's like
Right.
science.
I guess.
Yeah. No, actually, that's what Dan said to me. Because the copy of Raw Power that I had was kind of similar to this. Was like pretty worn and had the ring wear on it. And he was just like, yeah, man, you get that from pulling it out of your shelf.
Yeah.
I was just like, oh yeah, that makes sense.
Or trying to fit more on the shelf than you have room for.
Right. Yeah, you're just shoving it in there. But yeah, I mean, like they obviously loved the music, obviously knew that they wanted to be able to keep on listening to it.
Mhm.
So they cared for the record. And then the jacket, they were like, well, fuck it, you know.
Yeah.
Well, this really.
They're not thinking about this record that they bought 60 years ago, or wait, how many did we determine? 50 years ago? Like, actually someone listening to it 50 years from now. Imagine, like, you bought a record that's new right now, and, like, somebody 50 years from now is going to have your record.
Right.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, that's...
Like, I didn't
kind
know
of
that when I
crazy.
bought my purple Raekwon tape, that it was going to be worth $170.
Yeah.
You know?
That's pretty outstanding, really. Especially for cassette. Records right now, they're up there. And that's very possible. As a matter of fact,
these are the only things that'll keep playing, though, because have you noticed that, like, do you have any, like, 80s CDs? They just stop working. Like,
Really?
they just start to skip, they start to deteriorate, they start to, like, whatever in there starts to shrink or dry out. And, like,
Oh,
I
yeah.
have things that, no visible wear at all that just don't work anymore. So,
Huh. That's
but
weird.
this, you take
It's weird that-
care of one of those, it's good forever.
Like, so tape is still this... Like, is it still play the same?
Tape will wear.
It wears.
Tape-
Will wear.
Yeah.
Tape starts to.
So, like,
Dragon.
that tape that you had, like, how old was it?
Well, did it play well is the question.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering.
I'm sure that it did.
What tape is this?
Because I
Yeah,
had
Rick Warren
I had
tape.
tons.
Oh, it's fine. Yeah, it sounded great. Yeah.
Because I had tons of tapes, like, back when I had tapes, and, like, after a while, they all kind of like.
Well, the tapes I made
Well, you
sound
may have-
sound fine. I think like
Yeah.
the factory produced tapes, new tapes you buy,
Right.
they don't seem to hold up as well. But all the ones I've made, I have tapes I made when I was 14, 15, 16, and I like it because I can always tell, like, helps me put things into perspective on when I was listening to certain things too.
Yeah.
So like, I was listening to a tape the other day that had a bunch of random stuff on it, and then like a Mark Lanigan EP. I was like, looked up when that Mark Lanigan EP came out, and I was like, I definitely bought this new in 2005 or whatever. I was listening to all of this stuff. It's kind of cool. So
Yeah.
that all still works though.
Yeah. That's funny though that you think that the manufactured copies didn't last as
They
long.
just don't seem to hold. Like, they don't seem to sound as good to me.
Yeah.
But
Is that because you would listen to them all the time?
maybe.
Maybe listen
Yeah.
to it more.
Who knows?
Because you hear that all the time where people say like, "Oh, I wore that tape out. Like I fucking played
Yeah.
it like every day."
Now I remember wearing tapes out.
Yeah. And that's very possible. Tape is just. The vinyl is too. Because like if you listen to vinyl too often, like if you don't change your stylus,
Yeah.
you can wear out
It's
the
gonna
groove.
start to wear
also,
down. Yeah.
And you can get scratched. Like same thing with the CD. You scratch the bottom of the CD, forget it. It's gone. It's just you just can't play it again.
I was just researching how close we are to being able to 3D print records.
Get the fuck out of here.
Now, somebody did it. It's like really low quality because they can't get like that, the stylus and the bit rate or whatever. It's like a really low bit
Oh, the
rate.
whole
but
record player. I
No,
thought you
the-
meant
the
the record.
the
the
record.
record.
Oh, just the record. Yeah, okay.
No. 3D printing records.
Right, right.
Because I want to press records, but it's expensive. So I'm like,
Oh,
do people
yeah.
3D print records? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
like, wondering
I was
and.
gonna ask you about
And
that.
Googling and
like,
stuff, yeah,
yeah.
but like somebody did make a 3D printed record and it
Hmm.
plays, but it's not like good
Just
quality.
that whole thing just freaks me out.
Dude,
how
It's like
how
like
they work, how they work.
amazing
it
that
all.
they even
You're-
figured out how to do that.
That's insane.
No, wait. You're gonna buy. You're buying recording gear, or you already have some recording gear.
Yeah.
You're gonna record your own records, right?
Yeah.
Buy a record lathe.
Well, that's the
How
thing.
much is that?
We're recorded digitally.
How much
So-
is the record?
Get
Like?
the fuck out of here.
We can't
It's
afford
a
tape
record
machines and
presser.
shit. Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
just
how
a
much
record.
is that?
You can probably find them on eBay for a few hundred to maybe a couple thousand.
You have to, then you have to know how to work on them.
There's a
The only thing
guy.
is, like,
I heard this on a podcast as well. He started a business because he found one. Like I don't know how much he paid for it, but he found one in some place, and he ended up starting to charge for the service of recording people, like at an event. And so now he actually records straight to vinyl
That's cool.
at like in major artists,
Mm-hmm.
and he'll like just record them and press them like right there, like.
Oh, so the record lathe is you have to do it like sort of live and right
You're
into
cutting
the
the
record.
record.
Yeah,
You're
that's
cutting
like that.
the
That's a
record. That's
super
welcome
old
to it, yeah.
school. Okay, yeah,
Yeah.
that's cool though.
Dead Moon made all their own records.
Oh, we
they
should
had
do
they had
that.
a mono lathe that they made Wild Thing on.
There you
I
go.
think it was one of like the classic.
Here's how we
garage
do.
rock songs.
Yeah.
We record everything digitally, and then we send it into that record lathe. Right?
Yeah.
I mean, it's not gonna be stereo like it wasn't, right?
I mean, I don't know how
Well,
that
you
works.
could get a stereo.
I think,
lathe.
yeah, I
You get
think it's totally
stereo.
possible.
Yeah,
But it depends on what product you have, what product you're using.
yeah.
But yeah,
We
you can
prefer
press
to
your
record
records.
on tape, obviously.
No,
but
that'd be interesting
Well-
to play around with, though.
It's also kind
I
of
think
cool
that it would
having
still
like
be very good quality. Like, okay, so
even like when we recorded at Machines, we just recorded tracks on to the reels. Then the reels went right into Pro Tools. They
Right.
worked with them there, so it's just like the sound of it hitting the tape initially is
Yeah.
huge. But also,
yeah.
our friend's band Eric and the Nothing just recorded like all analog, like mixed it to tape and everything, and it's totally different.
Did they press the vinyl or press the
Yeah.
CD?
And
That's the vinyl.
it sounds like it's supposed to. It's like it's
Well, okay.
not having the
But
more
even if
the
you
most
recorded digitally and put it onto record, put it onto vinyl, I think it would probably still sound better. I'm assuming.
I don't know if the medium makes any difference. I think
I'm
when
just
it's
wondering-
recorded, it has to hit some kind of analog thing. I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know much about it. I wish I
Because
did.
once
I'm
you put
trying
it
to-
into
watching a lot of YouTube videos trying to
to
figure it
digital,
out.
you're getting your it's sampling, and you still get that limitation of the hertz. Like once it goes into digital, where if it goes into tapes, they have like the higher range, you know. So it's just like it confuses me how it's like if you go into tape and then you go into digital, how it's not like just still gonna like compress it to what it would be anyway.
Well, I think it's the way the recording of it actually making it onto the tape. It's getting a different sound
Yeah.
than
Well, it's a natural compression when it gets recorded to tape. So
Okay.
instead of like going through the computer and putting it through that digital processor, you're putting it straight to tape, and that tape provides you some natural compression.
well, and also
And
the
if
distortion you
consider
get from
yourself to
tape.
not be an audiophile, you're
Yes.
crazy.
But I think the distortion you get on tape is pleasant, whereas the distortion you get digitally is unpleasant. And
Yeah.
so like you can hit a tape really, really hard and send it into the record. It sounds cool. Whereas like, but that
Yeah.
sound doing that digitally is
Oh
is
yeah.
like, it's
Penny.
horrible. It's-
Um,
and-
Yeah, yeah.
I mean,
well, tape
I
is
think a
more
lot-
malleable in that regard.
well, I think
You
it's
can
just,
send a higher frequency into it than digital without getting bad feedback. Because even like feedback that you are going to get, it's still more manageable and palatable to the ears
it's not
than
digital feedback.
Because digital,
Yeah.
like even like right now, you can hear that this is like kind of like staticking because it's going through this thing.
Mhm.
So if it weren't going through that, you would not hear that as much or at all. So I don't know. That's my take on it. That's what I understand of it from what I've been told and what I've experienced. And I'll tell you what, from my experience of like going through all of this medium, because I sell records, but I sell CDs and I sell tapes too, and 8-track tapes. Like anything I get my hands on, I'll sell. Basically, I have no shame. I honestly gotta say that I think that the vinyl is the best medium. I really do.
I think it for something like this, absolutely. But like, I think like if something was recorded in the 2000s sometime with the intent to be released digitally
Yeah.
or on CD,
Yeah.
putting it onto vinyl, it's like it wasn't mastered that way. It wasn't like it.
Yeah.
So like, there's certain things
I
that
hear
Yeah,
what you
I'm
mean.
gonna guess there's no value in having like K-pop on vinyl.
you can't
Well, I'll tell
shut
you
up
what.
about K-pop.
I just learned this word.
I'll tell you what, from my experience, I can't speak to the digital recordings of Kendrick Lamar's Damn, but I did have it on vinyl.
I just bought that for my wife for Christmas, so I haven't
vinyl?
listened to it yet.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, and
Well, see, so I haven't listened to the CD of it, I haven't even listened to it on streaming.
all right.
So I have no other reference, but I had it on the vinyl, and I thought it sounded amazing.
That's
Yeah.
I thought the same thing with
No, but
that
Kendrick
Alabama
Lamar
Shakes
is
record.
more musical. Like
The
there's a
song
lot of
is.
like instrumentation and stuff.
Yeah,
and
but it was
it's
still
not-
recorded recently. It was a new recording. And it was
Yeah.
like what from
That's
2000?
2 years ago. Yeah,
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Okay. So and I mean and it just I loved the sound of it. I thought that it sounded great.
Yeah.
So I mean I'd be very curious to know to like get that on a CD
And
to just kind of compare it. Yeah.
Or
'Cause,
just
like,
listen to it on Spotify or something.
Exactly.
And like
yeah.
see what the like difference is.
See what I feel about it, but I mean I don't have the record anymore, so I can't put it, side to side. But I do that a lot because like right now I have Abbey Road and Sgt. Pepper's Lonely Hearts Club Band on 8-track tape.
Yeah.
I have a bunch of 8-track tapes right now, and I started listening to them all.
I enjoy listening to 8-tracks.
Yeah.
They're cool.
Well,
they got a certain,
yeah,
they got a
sure.
certain sound. Yeah,
Well, that's the thing is like it has a different sound
Yeah.
than the vinyl because I know I've had copies of those, all the different multiple copies from like original pressings in the 60s to like later pressings in the 70s, and listening to all of them because I've been doing that. I'm like I like the vinyl a lot more.
Well, most things I do too, but like if I was, because if you bought like a Queen reissue on vinyl, they sound like horrible.
The
Like,
new ones?
Yeah, I would like totally rather listen to the CD or an original, or a 70s pressing, but like the new ones are like they're bad sounding.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
And like unpleasant. And like I found that with a lot of
'Cause
older
they've
stuff being-
probably been
it's
digitally
probably-
remastered.
yeah, because the
Mhm.
master isn't
Yeah.
the same
Right.
as what they're pressing it from some other source. It's not.
Right.
It's like I don't know.
I
I
guess
feel like
that's
it depends. It has to come from the right place. Just like if you're,
It has to come from the right
You-
mother.
yeah, it would say like I think a lot of these records are repressed with really secondhand digital sources,
Yeah.
which is
I guess it
Doesn't-
Yeah, that's where you have to really pay attention
Yeah.
because there's all these like
Yeah.
180 gram releases and stuff like
they're
that.
not, they don't all sound good. I mean, like a lot
Yeah.
of them sound really lousy. Like
Really?
just Queen.
You
is
have
a-
to
is a
imagine
total-
they were just coming right from like the reels, like to. Is that what the process is?
They used-
like it was like the reels to the record in
Did
some
they cut acetates in
form,
the studio right off the decks? I don't know. I don't know.
I don't know.
I wish I
don't
knew more about
Maybe.
this stuff.
I mean,
I mean, in
There's
some
always-
capacity, it wasn't passing through a computer, like.
yeah.
Huh. So, and now it's definitely probably coming from something digital, and they're making a record out of it. It's not
Well, I
coming
even think
from
the
those
way-
like original.
I'm gonna say like you probably send it to a place to print a record in a digital format.
Yeah,
right?
like a wave file,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah, I don't think
That
they're sending
seems
reels
sad.
to the plants anymore.
I don't even know how that works anymore. Like, my friend Daryl is an engineer, and
I wonder how. So Eric's, did they just send the?
I don't know. I'm gonna find out.
Yeah, you should text him right now.
Should we
Is
find
Eric
out
on
right now?
Weapons?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Sure,
because
okay.
they recorded on tape and they got a record made. So was it just like, here, send your reels and
right.
or was it? What were we recording on? Like there was definitely a reel to reel, but then it went to that like ADAT or something.
So like the big ADAT that looks like a Betamax tape,
yeah,
like a VHS tape.
yeah. So maybe that's what they're sending out. I
Yeah.
don't know, right?
I mean, that's where I don't remember anymore. Like it's been a long time since I've recorded in a studio.
Yeah. Well, I remember when we recorded at like Danger, and we
Danger.
were responsible
Oh
for
my God.
getting that ADAT.
It was an ADAT. That was the little one.
ADAT.
That was the
Yeah,
little
ADAT
cassette,
tape.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we were responsible for bringing that with us, like the
Right.
ADAT or whatever.
So you had to like
Um,
mail that to whoever was going to manufacture your CDs or something, and
I
they would
don't
use
know
that.
how that happened.
Right.
I don't remember.
So that was a pretty good show. If you're seeing this now, you're at the end of the video. You've noticed the abrupt end, unfortunately, so I'm sorry about that. But great record too. I hope you can't hear it in the video, but like I said, go to the audio streams and find it there, and you'll actually be able to hear this record while we're listening to it and talking over it. Sounds really great. It is for sale on my eBay page. That link is also on our profile page, and probably be starting an auction on it, I suppose. But if you're seeing this, that means it's live now, it's active. Go find it if you're interested in it, because it's only be limited for a few days. Aside from that, yeah, go catch the band, go see the show. They dropped some pretty amazing pearls down there at the end of the video, which you can't, on the video you can't see it, in the audio stream you'll hear it. It was pretty cool information that I was very surprised by, that they were able to share with me. So I encourage you to go to the audio stream and finish the interview there, and then let me know what you think. Leave some comments. Please rate us, review us on iTunes and Stitcher and SoundCloud. Also here on YouTube. It's the best way to spread the word about the podcast, and I'd appreciate it for everyone. Just let me know what you think. Honestly, that's all that matters to me. Thanks a lot, guys. Have a good night.